fine. What do you have? What, do you have anybody to mention or no? Just you?
Sorry?
You have anybody to mention?
Thank you for the whole Kehillah and the rabbi for everybody.
And my mother-in-law.
You feel ready? Ready? Okay. Yeah. Okay. The discussion, the learning today should be a discuss first of the neshama of
Fegel Bas Tzvi
Harsh, who's Yahrzeit
on Shabbos.
on Shabbos. And a big thank you for Shaiki and for Lenz for everything that they do. Okay, just before we begin, I got some pictures from Yitzi's Rome trip and just to see the shoes and everything. So one of the pictures he gave me was what's it called, the Arch of Titus. Basically, there's an arch. It's made out of stone, and you see over there that they depicted on the arch pictures of the Yidden, them carrying out, the Roman soldiers carrying out the Kalim of the Beis Hamikdash. They have the menorah there, and the idea was that when they felt they won, they destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, so they made this beautiful arch, and this is their memories from that. There's a Maisa that the Panav Rav, the Tzaddik Levrach, once came to Italy in the middle of the night. He landed, let's say, 1 o'clock in the morning. He got to his room. It was almost 2 o'clock in the morning. It was raining, and he was supposed to meet one of the Rothschilds there. Whatever it is, he calls him up in the middle of the night. An emergency. You got to come. We have to go. We have someplace to go. So he tells him, you can't collect in the middle of the night. You can't go. He says, we must go right now. In the middle of the rain, they drove to this arch, Titus's arch, and the Panav Rav gets out in the middle of the rain there, and he yells out, he says, Titus, who's there? We're still around. We're still here. Where are you? In other words, the whole idea of this arch was like, we won. He says, the Yidden are still around today. Where are you? That was his answer. That was what he was waiting to do when he got to Rome. We want to talk today a little bit about the mitzvah of Sipas Yitzias Mitzrayim, which we all have. Everyone has a chiyuv Sipas Yitzias Mitzrayim, and talk a little bit about the makas and different things that can be said over by the Seder Mitzvah Shem. So, starting off with the mitzvah Sipas Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Kavah Yashar in Perek Daled says that ki mitzvah, it's mitzvah asay min haTorah l'chol echad miYisrael to remember and kol yimei chayav l'nisan. It's not only on Pesach by the Seder by night that we're supposed to remember these. It's lezichron tamid. Kol yimei chayecha as anisim. They have to remember every day of our life these nisim, and that's what we do. We have in the middle of Kriya Shema, we have Yitzias Mitzrayim that we say every single day. And I'm skipping in the Kavah Yashar Mechuyev l'sapar chazdei. We have to say over the different chasadim, like the Eibishter said, and you have to say it lebnoi k'moi shenemar, like it says v'yagad levincha. And he's not talking specifically about the night of Pesach. It says, like it says, we got labincha, that is a chiyuv. And the truth is, it's an interesting din. There's no other mitzvah that the father is mechuyev to give the son a lulav. The father is not mechuyev to give the son a esrog. Over here, there's a mitzvah specifically that has to go from father to son. Even if the son knows more than his father, no matter what, the chiyuv is, they go from father to son. We can talk about it even for our grandson. There's a chiyuv, but we're not getting into the halacha end of it right now. But upon him, there's such a chiyuv, and part of the Sipas Yitzias Mitzrayim we'll see is, let's say over that story that I just said, with the arch. That's something that you're showing the chesed of Hashem that was still around, and you're showing the emunah that comes from it. That's the job that we have.
It's not dafka,
it's not right. We'll see. It's not dafka. It's talking about the whole Indian. And the Kavah Yashar adds that every year we have a specific mitzvah of Lasat Yitzis Mitzrayim b'chol dor v'dor b'lel Pesach. Ki b'schus zeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu yifresh knafav tamid. If we're going to do this mitzvah of Sipur Yitzis Mitzrayim, the Eibush is going to kaviyachol spread his wings on us all the time, not just b'lel Pesach, all the time. Wherever we are, in any place, whatever we need, and he's going to do these great nisim and aflois. So again, I'm skipping in the kaviyash. If the saying of the Haggadah is like a weight on us, it's not. You don't say it b'chol koichoy, and you say it ba'atzlos. It's like a pain in the neck. B'li simcha, without the enjoyment and the simcha, and kavanas alev oz ein zuchus sheyasalo nisim kashehu b'makom sakana. When that person who says it like that, without that geshma, without that feeling, is in chas v'shalom in the makom sakana, and he needs Hashem's help, he's not promising any nisim. However, the other way, if we say the Sipur Yitzis Mitzrayim with a geshma, with a bren, and we say it with a simcha, with the enjoyment, the simcha shel mitzvah, then when we're in chas v'shalom trouble, we're in a place that we need a nes, the Eibush will make nisim for us. Now, so we have a job to give over the Sipur Yitzis Mitzrayim. There's a Maisa that happened in the Vardik. I believe I may have said this in one of the years before, but it happened in the Vardik, and out in the Vardik used it as a mashal. But there's a true story. There's a story that happened where there was a guy in the Vardik. I think this is all with Goyim, but it was just in the news that there was this guy who came to potential businessman with a business deal. He wants to give him counterfeit money. He wants to give him counterfeit money, and he'll give him $30,000, and he'll give him $100,000. Give him $30,000 of real cash, whatever. I'm using dollars. In Navardik, they weren't using dollars, but I'm just using the words dollars. It makes it a little easier. Right? He's giving $30,000 for $100,000. And he said, I'll show you my counterfeit stuff. Nobody can catch it. Nobody can tell it. So he didn't trust him right away. He tested it out. He took the counterfeit stuff to the bank. He got change for it. Nobody noticed. He went around to a lot of different places that they should catch it, and nobody caught it. And he was convinced that this is the best counterfeit he ever saw. And they made a time for the deal. They made it all worked out. And he comes with his $30,000. Now this guy had $20,000 of his own, and he borrowed $10,000. But it's a no-brainer. He borrowed $10,000. You pay him back with the counterfeit. He's good to go. He comes to the deal. He makes a deal, and on his way out, he was quite nervous. And if you look at him, you see he looks suspicious. He's masking to that. And as he's walking, he's stopped by two police officers, and they start questioning him. And they see like something bulging at one place. They start telling him he has a gun there. And they check, and they see a whole wad of cash. And they start checking him. They find on him $100,000. And the guy looks at the other guy, the cop. He says, "You know what? This is counterfeit. It's counterfeit." And the guy starts getting very nervous now. You know, he's caught with $100,000 counterfeit money, and he had a whole business running and everything. He's going to lose everything. And at one point, these two officers are very busy with the money and being masad of the money, and he has a chance. He breaks free. He takes off running, and he was in hiding. And somehow, in his hiding place, a few days later, he hears the news that this story happened, that there was a fake counterfeiter. What does that mean? This guy was counterfeiting money, but it was really real money, and he was convincing people that his real money is counterfeit, and it's just a great counterfeit, and he was coming with his two fake officers, arresting them, taking back the money. So it was really $30,000 he paid he gave him $100,000. The two officers they were the counterfeit ones, and they took back the money, and this was the deal. So this guy in hiding feels like the biggest fool in the world. He says he checked this out. He didn't just take this counterfeit money. He took it and it was tested over and over and over, and they knew that it was good money. He thought it was counterfeit that was good. Now he knows why. It was taka real money. So why didn't he have the guts to tell those officers, what are you talking about? This is real money. Why didn't he fight with them? If he was so sure and it fooled everybody, he have two little police officers, they became the biggie. He says, because deep down, says Alter from Navarre, he knew in his heart of hearts that it was counterfeit. So as much as on the outside he was positive and he thought he'd get away with it, when they put him to test, he didn't have the guts to say. Says Alter from Navarre, we come every year to the Seder, and we have to build up our Amunah. What do you mean? We're all Ma'aminim, B'nai Ma'aminim. We're unbelievable Ma'aminim. But he said the idea is to get deep down in our hearts, to take away even the shemetz. You could believe and you can know, but if there's even any shemetz, that's what we have to work on. That's our job, Lel Seid, and that's what we have to put into our children. Now, I just want to be magdim one thing about the Alter from Navarre before we go further. There was a story in Navarre that there was a bacher that was at that point past his visa, whatever it was, and they knew that they were after them, and they knew that they can come bursting into the Beis Medrash at any point and make a raid. And this bacher was in the Beis Medrash, and at one point there was the middle of Havdalah, Matzah Shabbos, the Alter Navarre was making Havdalah, and the officers burst in and take over. Now, everyone was shaking. People didn't know what to do with themselves. It was scary. And they made their search. And Baruch Hashem, they didn't find the guy, even though he was there, and they left. The Arthur from Navarre was in the middle of saying Havdalah. There wasn't even a drop of wine that spilled. That's how his emunah in the Eibishter, and how confident he was that when he's holding that kais, and they came in, and the whole place went screaming and running and nervous, his hand didn't even shake enough for the kais malay to drop a drop of wine. And he's telling us that we have to work on our emunah. So emunah is not something that, of course I'm a maimin. I could be a maimin. There's levels and levels of emunah. And just add one thing that the Rambam and tells us that Avram Avinu, when he was 40 years old, he found Hashem. Ask the Lach Mishnah. Every kid in Cheder knows he was 3 years old when he found the Eibishter. He wasn't 40 years old when he found the Eibishter. Says the Lach Mishnah, he started working on it when he was 3, and it took him till he was 40, till he finally reached that level of emunah. So it's not something that because I believe and because it's something I can invite to work on, and that's what we spent the whole Shalosh Shudas and Sukkot talking about these inyanim, and it's something that this is the ikar time to work on it is Pesach by night. The Pri Megadim in the Psicha Klolius, beginning of our Chaim, there's something called Psicha Klolius in Hilchos Kriyash Mas of Cotton Dalad, Esakasha Manish Tanalo Pesach Shechayev Mitzvah Seishal Sipa Yitzias Mitzrayim Alei B'Chol Laila Chayev. What's different about Pesach? Pesach, you have a mitzvah to Mesapi Yitzias Mitzrayim. Every night of the year you have a mitzvah. What's different about that? Now, we also know the Mishnah on Daf Yud Beis, Amid Beis, Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, Harei Ani Kiven Shivim Shana, Lo Zechisah Shetem Yitzias Mitzrayim Ba'Leiros. That wasn't talking about Balal Pesach. It was talking about a whole year. It was talking about a whole year. The Rambam asks, why is it Chalak, Lama Pesach Chalak from the whole year? It means we have a shiur of Sipi Yitzias Mitzrayim a whole year, a mitzvah saseh of Yitzias, to remember Yitzias Mitzrayim a whole year. So what are we doing different Pesach by night? So this, the Briskerov, the Tzad of Glavracha, says over B'Shem, his father, Reb Chaim, says the Tzad of Glavracha, Reb Chaim Soloveitchik, 3 chalukim, that the whole year, it's between me and myself. I say, Sibi Yitzias Mitzrayim, by Kriya Shema, I say it to myself, and that's it. I don't have to say it to anyone specifically. Over here, B'Leil Pesach, it's Dafka, Derech Shaila, the Tshuva, to say over, you have questions and answers, and when you have a question, when I just come and give you a teretz to something, a kash and a teretz, it doesn't make as much of a roshim on myself that I had a question, it bothered me, and I'm trying to get an answer, and then I get an answer. So we had Zerach Shaila, the Tshuva, so it goes deeper. The whole year, we have to just remember Yitzias Mitzrayim. Below Pesach, he says, the second chiluk is, you have to know the kola, shtalshalos, lahaskal, b'benus, l'sayim, b'shvat, like we say. You have to start from the beginning and go through the whole thing. The third chiluk is, Lo Pesach, you have to say the timing of the mitzvahs. You can't just say, people think that there's a mistake people make. You know, we spoke about last week that really the ladies and everyone are supposed to be part of the whole Haggadah, but they come to Pesach Matzah tomorrow, they say the three things. Over here you have to say the timing of the mitzvahs. If you don't say the timing of the mitzvahs, you didn't say anything at all. So these are the three chalukim that the Briskerov says over for Chaim. Then
Gat Tavinach is only for sons, or is it
for daughters also? Could be for grandchildren and Ein Loi Ben. So
You say it's good. They don't have to say the whole thing.
who?
Everyone has to
If
say
you say, so it's like you're the shliach tzibur, and they're being yotze with the thing, but they have to be part of it. They can't leave and come back. That's what we said. The Rambam would say for mitzvahs kuf nun zayin says mitzvah he shenitztava l'sab b'yitzis mitzrayim below tasvav b'tilas alayka fitzachas lo shoynay. It has to be as clear as possible. It's not just saying the words and reading it the way people just read through things and run through things. It's to say it with a clarity every word. L'chol shemoisef begadlus ma she'asa lanu Hashem, and anyone who could add to the unbelievable things that Hashem did for us, so then it's Arei Meshubach. In other words, you have to talk about the terrible things that Mitzrayim did to us, and how the Eibishter went and took us out, and to have Hoidah, he's thanking Hashem, Al Kol Toiva, Shegamalanu, L'Chol HaMa'arach, L'Sab B'tziz Mitzrayim, Arei Meshubach, that it's to talk about the Toivus that the Eibishter did for us in the Yetzias Mitzrayim. Now, that's the din of the Gat Mincha, that it has to be on the level that your son understands. Now, I'm going to talk about this maybe this year a little bit more, but I'm just going to throw it out and mention that sometimes we get caught up with the little children. The ikar is for the big children, but we'll get back. Maybe we'll discuss that this year by the Shabbos Haggadah drasha. But Al Kapanim, the Yetzias Mitzrayim has to be on the level they can understand. And if you have a family with different ages, you have a chiyuv to all different ages. It's not just to the little kids and throwing frogs at them. That wasn't the whole idea of the mitzvah. The chinuch in mitzvah tzaddik aleph, he says kamamish kusein zeh, that it should be, and he says you should be yashbiach Hashem, and it should be to be mispoil on the nisim. So that's our job that we're supposed to do. Now let's try to talk about the maskal begnos and Messiah B'Shvat. Where do we start from? What's the beginning? So the first question really I think we have to discuss is, why b'chlal did we go down to Mitzrayim? But what was the whole why did Amos just put us in Mitzrayim? What was the point? What was the idea? So there's Ramban in Parshas Lech Lecha, and I've said it over in the past because this is a Ramban that it's very hard to understand. The Ramban says, Da ki Avram Avinu chata chet gadol b'shkaga. In other words, I'm saying the word of the Ramban because we wouldn't say this on our own, but the Ramban, reading the Ramban when he's talking about that Avram went down to Mitzrayim and Sarai Mena was taken by the king and she was in Sakana and it was a nace that he got her back, says chet chata gadol b'shkaga. Shehevi eshtay hatzadekes. He brought his wife, who was a tzadekes, that almost came to do a terrible aveira, and she was scared of getting killed. And Yaharad, and instead, what should Avram have done? He could have. There was a rav ba'aret, there was a hunger. He should have trusted the Eibishter. The Eibishter is going to save him. Why do you have to go down to Mitzrayim with his food? And he brought him also ishtes and he brought her to Sakana, Kiyesh, Belakim, La'oizol, La'atzel, the Eibishter could have saved him. And that's the way the Ramban says.
Doesn't Rav Moshe say that Ramban?
Yes, I'm getting that. 1 second. Very good. Va'al ha'maisa zeh nigzar al And because of this story, Nigza al Zaroi, that we have to go to Galus Mitzrayim. That's what Ramban says over there in Lech Lecha, that we have to go Biyad Paroi, B'Makam, and that was like a tikkun to that chait that Ramban is calling that happened to Avram Avinu. Now, first of all, in the Avos to Rab Nosson, it counts this as one of the 10 nisyonos. So how the Ramban says that this is considered Aveira, chait, it was one of the 10 nisyonos. It was like a jewel in Avram's crown that he passed this Nisayon. Now you're going to call this, that this is considered that he did an Aveira. So that's first of all. Second of all, like Avi saying, and this is brought down in the Kol Ram, that's what Moshe said from before the Darish Moshe came out, that Moshe printed when he was alive. It has 3 chalakim on Chumash, and he brings it down, not over there, but a different place where he's bringing rayas that it's possible that there's things that are mistakes in the Rishonim, and this is one of his things. He says that the Ramban never wrote this, and it's Mishabeshta. It's not from the Ramban. You can't say such a thing, and you're not allowed to say that the Avos did a chait like that, and he says it's not really from the Ramban. So that's what Moshe says, and it's printed in the Kol Ram. Now there's other reasons that they say that we find in the Rishonim that we went down to Mitzrayim. One says from Mechiras Yosef that we went down because of Mechiras Yosef. The Al Shech HaKadosh brings a riot that can't be the reason. He says because when we go to the beginning of Shemos, it says Elu Shemos B'nei Yisrael Haba Mitzrayim, and the first one is Yaakov, and then Reuven, and Binyamin is in there. They all were not part of the Mechiras Yosef, so it can't be, if you want to say everyone who comes from the other Shvatim had to go to Mitzrayim, okay, but Yaakov, Reuven, and Binyamin, they shouldn't have been part of, they were not part of Mechiras Yosef. That's the Al Shech HaKadosh's riot. Now, also you could ask a question, if you have to go into Golus because of whatever sins, we have to go to Erevas Haaretz. You know, when you describe, there's different ways of describing things. If you're describing Mitzrayim as Erevas Haaretz, that means it was pretty bad. Whatever it was, if Chazal referred to it as Erevas Haaretz, there's different ways to describe things, and that's the way it describes it. Why do we have to go to there? So there's a Gemara in Shabbos, Kuf Mem Vav Amud Aleph. The Gemara says that when Klal Yisrael, when this is what our sugya over here, what we discussed, when Chava was the Baal the Nachash was Baal and Chava, I should say the other way. So he was Hitel Ba Zuama. He put into her some Zuama, I don't know how to type Zuama, some grind, whatever it is, some spiritual, Tama, disgusting things. The Yisrael Sha'amad al Har Sinai, and Klal Yisrael, when we stood by Har Sinai, finally was Pakha Zuama. That was the last end of the Zuama that went into Chava that we had. Until then, till we stood on Har Sinai, we were dealing with the Zuama, and we had to get rid of the Zuama. So he explained the first part, what we got rid of it was, that's why Avram Avinu had a Yishmael, because he was able to get rid of a lot of the Zuama that came from Chava into Yishmael. So that's why Yishmael is the way they are. They got, if they come to court, they can come and say, it's not their fault, it's from Chava's Zuama. And that's how they became who they are. Part of it went into Esav, but there was still left in Klal Yisrael, and for that we had to go to the Kur HaBarzel to get rid of the iron furnace, which was a way for us to purify ourselves. This way, when we come after the whole Yitzias Mitzrayim, and we went through the Shibud of Mitzrayim, now we went through the furnace, the iron furnace, and we were ready for Kabbalah Satira. And this was the last step in being able to get there, and this is why the Al Shech HaKadosh says, this is why we had to go down to Mitzrayim, and this was part of our steps in getting to be purified, which we spoke about recently, that a few shiurim ago, when the Eibishter gives us, Gehenna or whatever it is, he's not looking to punish us, he's not looking to hurt us, he's looking to purify us and to make us ready to be able to be the pure neshama that we can reach our highest level. And this was the idea of going, and now part of that was the Makas B'chayris was loyal de Malach, loyal de Saraf. Why? Why was the Makas B'chayris that there was no Shliach involved? So the way the Al Shul HaKadosh explains is because the Makas B'chayris was the beginning of the Yetzias Mitzrayim, like we'll explain soon, and that was the birth of Klal Yisrael. The Gemara tells us there's 3 maftechos that he doesn't give away, and one of them is the Koyach HaLeida, that the Eibishter doesn't give away, and the Eibishter comes to every single birth, and he's there. That's one of the reasons why afterwards the lady has to go here, Kaddish or Kedusha. What's that all about? Because when there's a void of Kedusha, there comes a Tumah. You know, that's one of the reasons. In order to get the Tumah away, they go to the carbon, or they go to here, Kedusha, Kaddish, or Baruch, or Davish, or Kedusha. Why was there a void of Kedusha? Because the Eibishter came to the birth, and then when the Eibishter, Kaviyachal, resends, and it's not that same level of the Eibishter, doesn't totally resend, but when there's not that same level, so there's a void of Kedusha, that brings a Tumah. So that's the birth of Klal Yisrael that happened when we went out of Mitzrayim, and that was helping, and then we were reborn, like we spoke about Shabbos a little bit, and we were able to get rid of all the Zuam. Now that's why, if you think about it, when you say the Halal Gadol, and we say Shabbos morning or on Yontif, we say the Makkah Mitzrayim b'Vchareim ki la'olam chazda. Ki la'olam chazda means that the chesed is never ending. It's not something that was at one time and now it disappears. It's la'olam, the chesed is there. So what's la'olam, the chesed is there? Because this was our birth. The Makkah Mitzrayim b'Vchareim ki la'olam chazda. Now the Chovos Levavos, rather the Chovos Levavos says that there were 2 unbelievable matanas that the Eibishter gave us. One was Ayidei Moshe Rabbeinu. One was the Torah, Shenasna Ayidei Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Hashalom. And the second thing was the Oisos, the makas that the Eibishter gave, the signs. Now, to understand the Torah, that something was a matana the Eibishter gave us that we have on a daily basis we use, that we understand. But what's the Oisos? The Oisos was something that was at one point, we went out of Mitzrayim. We're still having the Oisos that Moshe gave us. What's the Oisos? We have to understand what that means, that the Oisos, the makas that the Eibishter did in Mitzrayim somehow are still living today, and it's come out on the level of the matana of the Torah that the Eibishter gave us, which that we all can't understand, that was an unbelievable matana. Now, another question that bothered me for years and years, till I saw this pshat, and it's just something you think about in 2 seconds, it's something hard to understand. The Gemara a lot of times has simanim, yal kadam. Why? Because there's something that's hard to remember. So the Gemara makes a siman that you should be able to remember different things. And always a siman is not something that you would have a hard time remembering, so you make a siman. Why in the Seder, Yehuda Noisem Bam Simanim, the Tzach Hadash B'Achav, there's nobody that doesn't know the Esamakas. That people don't know 10 Commandments. That people don't know. There's a lot of things that people don't know. But people don't know the Esamakas. I don't think there's anyone that can rattle off all the 10 Makas in a second. So you need Simanim, the Tzach Hadash B'Achav. That's what you need. Now because, now I got it, you know? So what do you need Simanim? Yehuda Noisem Bam Simanim, Yashakayach Rabbi Yehuda, what do you do? So there has to be that there's something more to this, and we'll see there's some type of pattern, there's some type of shaykhs to these 3 groups, and then 3 separate groups. So the first is Dam Tzvardeya. You'll see in the Chumash, we're not going to go through now because we won't have time, but you see there's a Hasra. Moshe warns him that the Makkah is coming. Kinim, there's no Hasra. Orev Dever, there's Hasra. Shchin, there's no Asra. Borod Arba, there's Asra. Choshech, there's no Asra. Now the other, so that's one pattern that you see when it comes to the Tzach Hadash B'Achav. Then you also see that the first 2 of every group was done Yotzah Maima, go out to water, meet him over there, and you take care of business at the water. The last one that didn't have Asra was done Bein HaAbayim. It was always in midday when Parai looked, in his glory. He had everyone around him. It wasn't before everyone woke up. It wasn't they woke up to this new plague, this new idea. They was the middle of the day over here, and in his full glory, that was a third of each set. Now, another thing that people don't think about all the time, we say there's oisos umoifsim. What's the difference between an ois and a moifis? They're both seemingly a macha. Oisos umoifsim. The Eibusha does different things. He did dam, that could be a ois, or it could be a moifis. What's the difference between the lashonis of the oisos umoifsim? So the Shlach HaKadosh explains a ois is when the Eibusha wants something out of you. The Eibusha wants something out of you, so he does a ois. And a moifis is more like a punishment. More like a punishment, right? We explained what punishments are, but that's more a moifis. So a ois has to come with a warning. So let's say Dam and Tzvardeya was a ois. Kilim was a moifis, because there was no warning, and it just got them. Shkin.
What did the Prophet want from Thomas Maria? What was the ice part on the other side?
In other words, he warned him, if you don't let Klal Yisrael go, then this is going to be, that's a ice. And then the Kinim, he didn't. And then Shkin and Choshech, there was also, those were Moifsim. Kinim, Shkin, and Choshech were Moifsim, and all the rest were ices. So again, he broke them down into three parts. But the Iker Yisoid that he says is, what's the three different levels? Parai denied Hashem on all different levels. My daughter just had the Shabbos, one of her friends, and a few girls her age made a Shabbaton on their own. They got kids in some college, medical college, who were, Tinich and Ishbers, and they brought them here to Lakewood for Shabbos, and we're talking about they mamish, they didn't even know what Lakewood was, and they spent the last week with them. There's the break, they brought them from Florida to the cold, and for their break and whatever, they have classes. So she came on Motzei Shabbos, of course, on a high, and was telling me that one of them asked them that she was walking by a treehouse, and somebody said about going up. So she says, you're not allowed to go up on Shabbos, and they got into a whole conversation why you don't do them. So she wanted to know, about God. Is there a God? So my daughter asked her, I think it was said, do you want to know if there's a creator? Or you want to know there's a God running the world? It's a very good question. So the girl says, all right, both. The offering. So says both. So Parai denies the Metzias Hashem, that Hashem exists. There's no Hashem. The second thing is he denied that there was Hashgacha Pratis. That not only there's no Hashem, but he denies that the Eibush is running the world. And he also denied that the Eibush is not involved in what's going on in the world. So on three levels, he was Apikairis. He had all three levels. The Metzias Hashem, that is Hashgacha Pratis, and that the Eibush is involved in every step. I said, by Shal Shudas, this guy said, do you think God really cares if I drive on Shabbos? Does God, in other words, does he really get involved in everything? And we went through that then, so we're not going to go through it again. But this is what Parai held. And these three different stages were to answer all three of his tainas. Dam, Tzvardei, and Kinim. If you look in the pasuk, it says, Laman ki bezois teda ki ani Hashem. That was just to know there's Metzias Hashem. Bezois teda ki ani Hashem. By all three of them, it says ki bezois teda ki ani Hashem. The second set was that if Leisibem and that he wanted a Laman teda ki ani Hashem b'kerev ha'aretz. That over here, and I'll explain in a minute, right? That the Eibishter showed that Eretz Goshen didn't have these makas, and that the animals and the other things were able to make a chiluk between the Yidden and the Goyim. This was to tell them that Am B'Kerev Aretz is not just as a Metzias Hashem, and he set up the world, and now the world is running, or whatever else you can think. That the Eibishter is B'Kerev Aretz, he's in the middle of the land. That was the second set. And the third set was that the Eibush is involved in every little thing. He's involved in so when Rabbi Yehuda was nice about Simonim, there was a lot more than just another time to stick your fingers in the kos and throw it on whatever, however you do it. Some people spill it. I don't want to get into halacha shower now. But if you stick your finger in and you worry about kos pagam, I stick my finger in and you add a little wine, you're kosher. You have no problem anyway. But so however you do it, but I think last year somebody told us that if you take you save those driplets of wine, you can do whatever you want with it. Got lots of powers with that, those driplets of wine. So don't forget to save it this year. But the idea was that there's different things. So now, what was Makas B'chayris? Makas B'chayris was a whole new thing. Makas B'chayris was that the Eibush was just wanted to take us out, and the birth of Klal Yisrael, like I said before. So Makas B'chayris is B'chlal not part of this Seder of this thing. And in other words, now I want to take apart some of the Makas, but we need to give over all levels of Emunah, and one very good way to give over the levels of Emunah, at least when you have children different ages, is when you say stories of things that happen to us or happen to our generation or nearby, and they can relate to it. Not that you talk about Mitzrayim also, but when you tell us different things, and everyone really who's leading the Seder should prepare, and you throw in stories, it makes it more interesting, and there's different stories. So I'll say one Maisa. I believe I said it over sometime last year, but you mamish see a lot of these points all come together. Now this Maisa is written in a book called Small Miracles. That's where this comes from. And it says in the early 1900s, it was a very common practice for Jews, wherever they were finished with the pogroms and the persecution, to try to slowly get moved to America. So a lot of times they would send one kid at a time. So this family sent their daughter Anna in 1930 to Baltimore, to her aunt in Baltimore, and they promised that they have another 7 children and themselves. They're going to be slowly sending them, saving up money. And Lamaisa took a lot longer than they expected. They expected they had a plan to do it much faster. It didn't work out the way they wanted, but they decided they can all come at once. They were saving, and then came the war, and obviously their plans changed. And it was 1946 when this Anna in Baltimore finally met somebody from her old town in Poland, and she got the news that her whole family does not exist. There's nobody, they were all killed out, and she literally couldn't go on. She was finished. She had no emotional strength, she had nothing to live for. Her whole living over here was preparing and making it ready that when their family comes, they'll have where to settle, and they'll have what to do, and she was working, and it was just all crushed in one day. And at one point, she came to the realization that her shutting down doesn't do anything to commemorate her family. And the best way to commemorate her family is to keep on going, to get married, and to have children, lots of children, after her, her lost siblings and her lost family. And the truth is, I was once discussing with my mother, Leil Shalom, today everyone's asking, a lot of people are trying to have less children. In her generation, everyone has, big families, and she was being honest with that after, the children of the survivors, all after living literally with the Holocaust. My mother, when she was growing up, she had her cousins and I think they were all living in the same apartment. They all came together, whoever was left, and therefore I have second cousins which are close to me like first cousins, because they were mamish living together. They all just wanted to have children because all the children Nebuch were destroyed. And as we get further away and we lose that gefühl, people don't have that same feeling. But Al Kapanim, she wanted to have a lot of children. She met a guy, Saul, and they got married. Anna and Saul got married. They're trying to have children, it's a guy. They go for for doctors, and one day she gets the news she can't have children. It's not negeya. And again, Vita, she's crushed to no end. And she's falling apart, but this time she has a husband who somehow pulled her out of it and convinced that if we can adopt a baby, we'll name the baby after, we'll get the baby. And they tried all types of avenues, and it was a Jewish agency in New York, and finally they get the idea they have a baby for them. They go through all the types of testing and questions and who knows what that they had to do, and they're coming down, they drive from Baltimore to New York to pick up this baby, and last minute the parents of the baby backed out. And Vaita, Nacha Crush, she's again knocked down to the ground, and she says, we came from Baltimore, we're here, there's nothing. They said, the only thing we have right now is there's a girl, her name is Miriam, she's 8 years old. They don't want that. They go back to Baltimore, they try a bunch of different avenues, and nothing is panning out. Zero. Wherever they go, it's not panning out. So they finally, after 4 years later, they call back and they say, you know what, we'll take this. Is this Miriam still around? So they said she is. Happens to be she is. No one wants older children, but it's a drop complicated now because her brother Moshe was found, and they in order to take them, we promised them they're going to stay together. So you got to take them both. They decide that's it. They'll come with this two children, two siblings, Miriam and Moshe, and they come down. They bring them down, and obviously it's not easy for these kids. They went through a lot, and they themselves lost their families, and they come to the house, and it's not a gishmak matzah. All of a sudden she sees this Miriam, her face lights up, and she's like looking, and she looks, says, what are you looking at? So she asks on the piano there, she says, why do you have a picture of my grandmother? Maybe they all look the same to you, but it's not. She was running to her luggage, and she had a picture, and it turns out that these two children were this Anna's sister's children, that she wanted, her whole idea was to keep her family going, and her sister Sarah had two children she never even knew about, because she was in America and she got married and she had the children, and the Eibishter made hashgacha pratis that nothing worked out. Every avenue shut down that she should be zeicha to bring her niece and her nephew, and mamash bring them up in their own family. So the Eibishter, there's thousands of such stories that if we prepare them before the Seder, you come and you give it over in a much higher level. Now, we're convinced that if we would have been there, we would be positive that for sure we would see hashgacha pratis. The Barbanel has a mahala throughout the Makkahs that it was all natural disasters. Nothing happened out of the ordinary. Either Dam was kishuf, which that very well could be. Everyone was into kishuf those days. Kishuf, they did a dime a dozen. Or Dam was every 2,000 years or so, the Nilus turns into Dam. It's just a natural thing that happens. But if you were, and all the fish dies, of course. If you were a frog in that Nilus, I don't think you would want to stay in there. Yesterday had clean, nice water. All of a sudden it turns into blood. So you'd come out jumping all over Mitzrayim also. What else would you do? So the frogs came jumping around all Mitzrayim. Now, we get frogs jumping all over like the kids sing. So for Shteitzach, you get lice. Well, what else? You have these dirty frogs jumping in your food and your thing, wherever you go. You get lice.
It came from blood.
The lice, right? The lice, right? They just came from the blood. And the lice spread to the animals, and they went wild. At Arav, the mamas went crazy, and they contracted some disease, and they started dying. And he goes through the markers like this. The Malbim has a kasha, and then the Malbim says, what do you mean Mamaya Tanais for? But whatever it is, let's say we don't hold like the Barbanel. Zicha Para and his people held like the Barbanel. They for sure paskin like the Barbanel, that it was all pasha. There was nothing to them, but it was natural disasters.
How do you explain my Shovena's warning then?
And how do you explain the Malbim has 7 days in between each makkah? But Dafka, for this reason, says the Malbim, that there was a 7-day break.
Al Gore's warning for...
You're in
Was it
denial.
Hayyim?
what's it called? What about fire and ice
The
together?
answer is, and what about what?
Fire and ice together. How they explain that?
I'll get back to you. The point is like this. The point is, and I've spoken to people who wanna not believe, they can hang on to such ridiculous things that even when you come and you point out to them, they want. So it's very easy when you don't want to believe. But I wanted to go through. I don't know how much time we'll have, but I wanted to go through a little bit. You go first of all. One of the things over here, it says the Eibishter tells Moshe, Boil Parai Melech Mitzrayim, and tell him Shalach Zami as Bnei Yisrael me'aretz Chavidav Moshe Lefnei Hashem Lema Hein Bnei Yisrael Lo Yishamali Klal Yisrael didn't Eichish Meini Parai Ani Aras Messiah. The Klal Yisrael didn't want to believe me. You think Parai's going to believe me? How is it possible? So Rashi says this is one of the 10 Kal V'chomers that are in the Torah. And the question is so obvious. This is a Kal V'chomer. This is a Kal V'chomer. Any Rosh Yeshiva gets up in his yeshiva and says it's Kal V'chomer, the Bachim will march out. What are you talking about? It's a Kal V'chomer. This is. It says the reason Mekaytzeruach Me'avodah Kasha. You know why Hein Lo Yishmali? Because Mekaytzeruach Me'avodah Kasha. They didn't hear me because they're so nabach worked up pulp. They can't even think. They're like battered people. They could think. So Parai Zitztach Ve'akenig. He's sitting like a melech. He's mamish. He's living it up. So what kind of comparison is it? Eich Yishmeini Parai. What is that? What kind of Kal V'chomer is that? Now, I'm going to get back to the answer to that, I believe, very soon when we get to Tzardeya. Now, it says a little weiter, it says that he went to the Mahima, Vayifam Para Vayavel Beisev Elashos Liba Gam Lezois. Gam Lezois. This is the first Makkah. So you could say, Rashi does say, because he did Oisos before, he made the tricks with the snakes and the things. So Gam Lezois is going on that. Ramei Simcha, the Or Sameach, has a beautiful pshat. Gam Lezois. Parai sold himself off as a god, as a god. That's what he was, and he had to go to the bathroom sometimes. So what did he do? He went to the Nilus, and Yaakov Avinu gave him a bracha that the Nilus should come up to him. So when he was in the Nilus, he relieved himself. So he went every morning, Yoitza Maima, and he had his privacy. All of a sudden that day, Moshe turned it into blood. So he couldn't stay in the Nilus. So Balamais, he's waiting 24 hours already to go to the bathroom. So he had to excuse himself and find a private spot. The whole Klal Yisrael following Moshe and Aaron. And you had the whole Mitzrayim, they see the whole entourage going, following Parak. So everyone was there, and they all saw he's not a god. Parak should say, okay, I give up now. Even to the fact that he's not a god, he didn't care. So says, I think it's Reb Chaim Shulevitz, I don't know, I didn't have time to look it up this morning. It says Reb Chaim Shulevitz, Parai, Lamaisa, Parai also had Koitzeruach Me'avodah Kasha. Klal Yisrael had Koitzeruach Me'avodah Kasha from dealing with Mitzrayim. Parai, a whole day, he had to busy hold himself back from going to the bathroom. Just think about it. If he had his good meal, and he's busy sitting there holding himself back from going to the bathroom, he's making himself crazy. He's turning into knots. He has to wait for the next morning, because otherwise I'm not a god. So he had to fake. So he also had Koitzeruach. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, hey, Lo Yishmali, from that Koitzeruach. This guy also got Koitzeruach. He's busy holding himself back all day. And it's a beautiful Kal V'chomer. Says Reb Chaim Shulevitz in Meirdik. He says, Parai was the leader of the free world. He was the leader of the whole world. He has so much covered. Now, what's the difference in me respecting Parai, the fact that he can kill anyone, he can do whatever he wants, he has all the money and all the power in the world, or he's also a god? It's not that much. It's a drop more. Yigrad also a god. But yet, Parai is willing for Gaiva. He's willing to kill himself. That he should be a god. It's nish genug that he also has to be a god. Until he's the god, it's worthless. So we see how weit Gaiva goes from Parai. But Al Kapanim, I see I'm really over, so let me just conclude with this, and maybe we'll continue this Monday night by the shiur, because I don't know if I'm even halfway through. But the idea, but let's just go one step further when it comes to, so that's the dam. Let's go to the Tzvardeya for a second. Oh, one second, I missed this. The Mefarshim also asks, if you want to turn the river into dam, okay, turn the river into dam. You have to make that every body of water in the whole Eretz Mitzrayim turn to the dam, and you sit down on a piece of wood, instead of water coming on you, dam came on you. What did he need that for? Says, I think it's the Malbim, if I'm not mistaken, it's the Malbim. Yes, the Malbim. The Malbim says like this. Our Malbim from the Chumash and the Shul is stolen, because I guess it's so good. The Shemais one is missing, waited a few years. But Al Kapanim, the Malbim says beautifully. He says that Klal Yisrael goes through Golus, and we're always beaten, and we're always persecuted. And over here, the Eibishter wanted to show us and them that there's no such thing. And the Mitzrayim thought this was the blood of all the kids that they hurt, and it was all coming back to haunt them. And then when the Tzvardeya started coming, they felt this was the souls haunting them, and they were mamish haunted by this idea. It was something that mamish took them down, and the mamish haunted them. And I guess I could stop over there. I could have a lot more on Tzvardeya. I guess we'll continue Monday night, because just to go through the different makas, and you see so many different things, and we'll continue Mitzvah Hashem.